Chinese smartphone maker Xiaomi is set to release their new electric car in China. It's going to be pretty huge. We're going to get a good look at it. But who are they? Can they actually make a car? Can they actually afford to make a car? Can they make something cheaper and better than a Tesla and still survive? Let's find out about that. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Before we get started, a big thanks to Joshua, who used my referral link to buy his new Model Y down there in Vegas. Very exciting stuff. And yeah, it's great when you do that. I get some points that I can use for supercharger miles or FSD beta trial, things like that. I appreciate using them. And if you want to support me on Patreon as a patron, X as a subscriber, or YouTube as a channel member, the links are, in the description and all over the place. Appreciate your support so much. So let's talk about it. Xiaomi releases electric car $4,000 cheaper than the Model 3 as the price war heats up. Well, have they released it? No. But it's coming in like a week, so it's as good as out. SU7 will sell for about 30 grand in the country, a price he acknowledged would mean the company was selling each car at a loss. Is that sustainable? Can you do that? Well, yes, for a time, up to a certain point, you can. The question is, how big of a loss is it? Of course, they're expecting to ramp up production and get to higher numbers so that they can actually bring down their cost of goods sold, make a profit. That's the goal. But if you were to try and sell each new car at what it actually costs, well, you'd have a hard time. It's very common for manufacturers to sell a car at a per unit loss in the early days. Looks pretty good in this picture. There will be a video momentarily where you can get a better idea of what it really looks like. And it looks, I think, pretty good. It looks less like a Tesla knockoff and more like a Porsche Taycan knockoff for Tesla pricing, a little bit less. So they said they're going to sell this for far less than the Model 3. It'll be a nice car. It'll beat it on 90% of its specs, except on 2, and it'll take at least 3 to 5 years to catch up with Tesla on those. The problem is Tesla is a moving target. It's very hard to catch them. You can get a car, you can tear it down, benchmark it, and do some great work. You can catch up to that, hopefully. Recently, Ford purchased a Cybertruck at auction for $250,000 and benchmarked it and took a good look at it and said, here's what we need to do, here's what we're doing now, and 1,500 people have been laid off from the Ford Lightning division. I've got that story over here. I'm going to cover that in another video. It's not a great look. So who is Xiaomi? Did you know that they are the second largest smartphone maker in the world, behind only Samsung? I didn't know that because they don't sell them here, I guess. They're a big company and they have good margins. They're the youngest company in the Fortune 500. So let's take a look over here. Let's look at their revenue. This is in US dollars, I believe. Yeah, 270? No, that's got to be in renminbi. So at any rate, yeah, the market cap is 47 billion US dollars. This is a big company. Revenue growth, not great. It's on the wrong trajectory. But 2021 was a year when someone like this was selling a lot of devices for students who were unable to attend school, etc. And these are revenues on smartphones. A $47 billion market cap is quite good when you're selling devices that cost $100, $500. And looking at their cash on hand, they're at $13.7 billion. If they've already got the factory built, the car is designed, the tooling is in, the factory's there, they're rolling off the line, presumably already stockpiling them for the delivery event coming up in like a week or two. And they've still got 13.7 billion in the bank. That's a good sign. That's promising. They can lose 10, 20, 40,000 on each of their new cars while they're ramping up, while they're improving costs, while they're getting their name out there, their reputation cemented as someone who's making a serious car. Now, this is unfortunate because Apple just announced that they have canceled their car. But their car wasn't really going to be a car. They were trying to go straight to robotaxi. And it's apparent that there are somewhere between 1 and 0 companies capable of doing that in the next year or two. And Apple had already put in $10 billion to lose, to bleed out on. So that's not great. And if you look at their cash on hand historically, they've done well. 2021, again, a great year. But I assume a lot of this drawdown was to design and develop the car, and the smartphone sales can carry them. Just like how Ford and others have the ability to lose money on a per unit basis because they've got something profitable over here. It's just like how Tesla is losing money on the bot project because they're not selling any bots, but they are building them. It's like how Tesla probably lost money on their very first large megapack installation in South Australia. They sold it for $100 million with a 90-day guarantee. We'll have it in and running in 90 days or it's free. There were a lot of expedite costs that surely came into play, but they got it done on day, I want to say 87, 88. It worked. So the question is, and I will ask you, what do you think of this car? How's it look? By the way, if you haven't already smacked a like, smack a like. Not on his video, on mine. Or his, that's fine. That's a good looking car. If you could get that with specs that beat Tesla Model 3 on 90% of the specs, and it's $4,000 cheaper, would you buy it? Now, a first generation car, probably not. But if they can actually make it at this price, that's pretty compelling. That's a stylish interior. That's a stylish exterior. It's got the display in the place people keep complaining that it should be. Now, I don't need my display in that place, but I get it. I get it. A lot of bells and whistles. The Chinese manufacturers love their bells and whistles. It's got phone integration. Oh, that's nice. An advantage to having a phone company make it is that presumably the infotainment and the integration is going to work. Having entertainment on the headrests is better than putting it in the middle. I don't know why manufacturers would want to put it on the center console instead of where humans watch, but then again, I don't know how much use a rear seat screen actually gets. Make it an option, maybe. Make it an option. Decent legroom, it looks like. Full glass, great. They've got all the right pieces, but is it going to work? I guess that would be my question for you guys. Yeah, and it's quick and it's pretty. I assume we'll have some early problems with build quality, like you would expect with any manufacturer. Even the big guys have problems with their new vehicles, especially their new EVs, since it's a whole new drivetrain. But they can figure it out and let the early adopters do their thing, early adopt. Let the rest of us get it in a few years when it actually works. Cars like this are not likely to come to North America. They would have to build a whole new factory here. They could build it in Mexico and import it as a domestic product under the USMCA trade agreement. But it's unclear that they would. They certainly haven't announced plans to. And with a stockpile of only $13+ billion, which will be likely drawn down a bit, it's very likely that they would not have immediate plans to move into the Northwest. It's likely they would not have plans to move into the North American market quite so quickly. But when they do, even if that's in 5 years or 10 years, they could move quickly, they could move aggressively, they could get a whole lot done. Again, this is the newest company. Xiaomi is the newest company in the Fortune 500, meaning they're moving quick. They're doing good work. That looks a bit like a Nissan Altima in the back, but 370 miles of EPA rated range, 310 miles for the base model. That's pretty good for $42,000. But again, that's the in China price, meaning this is a premium vehicle. So there's some flexibility there in terms of, by the time you export it, this in Europe would be 55 to 60,000 at least. Throw the VAT on there, gets a little trickier. So what do you think of it? Do you like the look? Not sold on that little bump on the forehead. I'm not sure how that will be received. But once I'm in the car, it doesn't matter. And it is a good looking car. They've got the styling figured out. They've hired the right people to do that part of the job. The red, not for me, but I assume that's optional. I don't think they all come in red. So what did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it into the comments below. You know what you got to do. Smack the thumb in either direction. I appreciate it. And for everybody else, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Stay juicy. And I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots from the passenger seat of your brand new Chinese car. And look at that. It's got the anchors for the car seats, for the child restraints. Just wonderful. Good stuff.